Hello, my freshmen, and happy day 43. Just continuing forward in early May right here, and continuing forward with fixing up and prettying up our Black History essays. Let's pray, and then we'll get right into today's lesson on fixing up our research. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you for this day, and thank you for just your wisdom and your guidance. I know that this month of May has been a hard one for me to plan out in applied English, just making some tough decisions about what to do and what to cut. I do pray, God, that you are blessing this week as a time for us to wrap up what might be our most difficult assignment all semester, and improving on those skills that we've already started to build. I do pray, God, that you are giving me energy and motivation to do well with grading after falling a little bit behind. I do pray for a blessed day today of teaching and of grading. And I do pray, God, that you are just continuing to build up the futures of my freshmen especially, that the skills that they learn in this class, and even the skills they're working on today, will serve them well in their professional lives and in their family lives and their futures. We love you, Jesus. We thank you for who you are. We pray this all in your name. Amen. Just like we talked about in yesterday's little virtual lesson, this week is about revising essays based on instructor feedback. If you are still waiting for feedback from me on your Black History essay, I apologize. I had a really rough day yesterday. I'm doing a little bit better today, but I do want to thank you for being patient with me as I get feedback back to you. My goal is to get caught up on those today, obviously, so that you can get to work on revising these Black History essays. The bulk of this video, I want to talk about how to cite our research properly in our Black History essays. This is probably the biggest area for us to work on as we go back and revise these essays for a higher grade, is making sure that we can represent research the right way. This will serve you well in English 1, as you have, I believe, 2 separate research projects. Smaller one in semester 1 usually, a larger one in semester 2. I want you to know how to do this stuff so that you don't feel lost next year. One thing to note, after you're done watching this video, I will give you some time to revise, to work on your Black History essay today. You might be working on revising, where you have some feedback from me, and you're just starting to make some changes for a higher grade. Maybe you're still drafting your Black History essay, wrapping it up for the first time to get the 0 out of the grade book. As you do that today, what I want you to make sure you're working on especially is citing your research correctly. This is the biggest error pattern that I've noticed as I've been grading essays so far. Our next lesson will be similar to this one. Instead of talking about research, we'll talk about grammar and proofreading. And again, you'll have some more time to work on Black History essays a little bit more, correcting grammar errors, finishing up the typing if you haven't had a chance to finish typing yet. That's what our next lesson holds for us, both in person and virtually. Citing research properly is our lesson video for today, and you'll see a couple of things attached right here. One is a PowerPoint on how to introduce and cite evidence inside of your essay. We'll talk about that first. I also want to teach you how to do MLA Works Cited pages today. I'll give that to you as a secondary option for how to cite your research within this essay. One thing I want to clarify now is that you can choose one or the other. If you've already started the work of citing your evidence inside of your essay, doing InText citations, I recommend following just what we do in the PowerPoint. If you haven't cited your research properly at all in your essay, or might have some really big overhauls to do with citing your research, it might be wiser for you to do a Works Cited page. Again, you can choose between the two of these. You do not necessarily have to do both for this essay. I'm going to walk through this PowerPoint and PowerPoint itself to make it easier for me to teach from, but obviously you can track through this at your own pace as well here on these slides. So let's talk about how to introduce and cite evidence inside of the text of your essay. I know this says Mr. Hantak's Writing Workshop. I gave this same exact presentation earlier this semester for my Writing Workshop class. There'll be a couple of more complicated points that I'll skip over for you guys, but I want you to know the basics of how to cite evidence inside of your essay. The first type, obviously, is the in-text citation. The purpose of this is to credit the authors of individual pieces of evidence as we use them. We do have to do this, otherwise we've plagiarized. We've stolen information without giving credit to who that information came from. We never want to make it look like we created information that we didn't create in the first place. We always have to give credit where it's due. In MLA, which is the citation format we use in our English department, the order of information is author is the most important thing. If your article or webpage has an author, that's what we want. Page number, if present, that's not all that big of a deal for websites. If you were citing from like a book or a newspaper or a magazine, you would want to use a page number. Title of the article itself or web page itself if you do not have an author. There's a couple of ways to give in-text citations. One way to do it is while introducing a piece of evidence. You can give your author information or the title of your article inside of the sentence, or you can do it in parentheses after the piece of evidence. I got a couple of slides of examples for us to look at here. So let's take a look at this for a direct quote. A lot of the evidence that you guys used in your Black History essays are direct quotes, which are awesome. You pulled them from the internet. Some of you pulled information from the internet without using quotation marks, which is like direct copy pasting. If you are ever going to do word for word what your article or web page says, it has to be in quotation marks to show that it's word for word. Notice in this one I've used a parenthetical citation. Paragraph says this: many American parents simply don't want their children watching SpongeBob, topic sentence. Here's a piece of evidence. A recent study states, quotation mark for direct quote, 80% of parents polled chose negative or very negative when asked about the show's impact on kids. Notice what comes in parentheses here. This is the author's last name. I actually made this article up, but this article is written by someone named Campos, right? Just the last name is fine, in parentheses, and then a period after the citation. This is properly cited. This is telling you that I pulled this information from Campos's article. And then comes my commentary. Regardless of the objective morals SpongeBob promotes, 4 out of 5 parents cannot be wrong, blah, blah, blah. Note once again, the article author's last name is cited after the quote. If you want to do it that way, it has to go in parentheses. Let's take one more look at direct quotes as well. So I've used the same exact quote right here, but this is how you would cite the author's name inside of the sentence itself if you want to avoid parentheses. Same topic sentence, but take a look at this evidence. In his research, Arthur Campos, author's first and last name, states, I've used a colon to introduce my quote, you can use a comma too, and then comes the quote itself. Note this time, the article author's first and last name are included before the quote. This would move our period inside of the quotation marks instead of after the citation, because there is no citation at the very end of that sentence. So once again, a lot of you tried to use information without direct quoting it from the internet. When you direct quote, please make sure that you're using quotation marks to show what's word for word. But then also include the article author's name if you have it. Otherwise, use the title of the article. I think I've demonstrated that in our next couple of examples. Let's say you've paraphrased, and this is maybe even more common for what you guys did in your Black History essays. Paraphrasing is taking information from the internet and restating it in your own words. One of the things a lot of people forget about paraphrasing is that you still need to cite your source because you yourself did not create this information. This is a different paragraph right here, so let me read this out loud here. One fan theory about SpongeBob SquarePants claims that the characters can speak because of nuclear fallout. Here's my evidence. In this theory, Bikini Bottom is connected to Bikini Atoll, a site of extensive nuclear weapons testing. Notice this is not direct quoted. This is something I paraphrased from the article. Again, this article doesn't exist. I made it up. But notice here in my parentheses, I don't have an author name. I have the article title. If your article or web page does not have a given author, you'll need to use the title of the web page or article. This one was just Bombs and SpongeBob. Notice that I put the article title in quotation marks. Period would go after my parenthetical citation. And then comes my commentary again. The names of these places are too close to be a coincidence, and radiation would explain some of the show's logic. This article, once again, that I made up, doesn't have a listed author, so the citation uses the title instead. If any of your web pages have really long titles, feel free just to use the first 3 to 5 words of the article title. This reminds me too, some of you, in trying to cite this in text, you just use your full URL, www.blackhistoryisawesome.com /blah. Don't use URLs, use the title of the web page in quotation marks. If it's an article, obviously use the article title, but you'll want to replace those URLs with the actual title of the page. You can do the same thing in sentence once again. Same topic sentence, but notice here, according to article title, Bombs and SpongeBob, Bikini Bottom is connected to Bikini Atoll, a site of extensive nuclear weapons testing. That's the same paraphrase as before, but notice that I've given the article title inside of the sentence. That's totally fine as well. I'm not going to talk about block quotes. Works cited pages, I have a different document for us to look at here, but here's the thing. The purpose of a works cited page is to provide a checkable list of all of your sources. You would only want to do this for the sources that you actually used information from within your essay. Full MLA citation includes any relevant information about the source's publication, so the author, the title of container would be the website it's from, who published it, when was it published, etc. These can be really annoying to write by yourself, so I do have a little guide that will take you through using a citation generator called Citation Machine. That'll make it easier for you to crank out a works cited page. I'd like to remind you that you can choose whether you want to just fix the citations inside of your essay and do in-text citations, or if you just want to pop a works cited page at the end of your essay, I'm fine with that as well. You can choose one or the other. You do not have to do both for the sake of this year. You'll notice you have this little guide that says MLA citation step-by-step ... Let's view this real quick. Here we go. So this is just a little guide on how to create works cited pages easily and wisely, I would note. These are not fun to write just word for word, or these are not fun to write by hand. It's nice to use the internet to help us with it. We should know how to do it. In general, a full citation in MLA 8, which is what we're using now, will look like this. You include the author's last name and first name, maybe middle initial and then a period, title of the article in quotation marks, website title in italics, any sort of publisher information, publisher, the date, month, year published, and then the URL that follows. An example might be this one that I made up. My wife's name, so hand tag Sarah J. School Nursing Made Simple would be the title of the article. School Nurse Central would be the website. The publisher, the website's created by the Association of School Nurses. Publication date, April 4th, 2016. And then the URL that follows. Don't follow this URL. It's not an actual website. Again, annoying to write on our own. We want to use online tools to create these for us. It is important that we know how to check for errors, so we can follow this process step by step. Notice that I've included pictures to guide you through this as well. I like using citationmachine.net. Let me open that up in a new tab real quick. citationmachine.net/MLA. Use that first. And then I should also open up any web page that I want to cite. For this one, I'm going to actually look in my essay. Let me get there real quick. I know I have 3 websites to look up here, so I just want to go one by one. So my first piece of evidence, Jim Axelrod writes. Let me just get his name, and we'll get an article from there. I'm just going to look up Jim Axelrod, Frederick Douglass, and there's the article I used. Good. So moving forward through the process, I've opened up Citation Machine. From there, it wants me to choose the type of source I'm using. So right here, Citation Machine's annoying with its ads, but I'm citing a website here. Good. We're on step 3 here. Copy the URL, also called the web address, and then paste it into the bar and press search. Control C is copy. Control V is paste. I'm going to hit search. Let's see, it pulled up a list of possible web pages. Yours, like 99% of the time, will be the first one listed. Doesn't hurt to check to make sure it's accurate. Click Cite once you're certain it's found the right page. I know mine has. Click Cite. Now what Citation Machine has done for me is it's found any relevant information. It is telling me that it's having trouble finding some information. So I'm going to double check on that real quick. I'll hit Continue. And here's what it found. So it found the title of the article, great. Found the author's name, Jim Axelrod. And it actually did find the website title and the publisher information. So there's nothing I need to add right here. It does say that it will let you know, or that you do need to check your source for missing information. I'll scroll down a little bit here. If Citation Machine lists anything in this step in orange, it's telling you that it's had trouble finding something and wants you to look for that missing information yourself. One thing I would note is that if you cannot find the missing information, so like if it doesn't find an author's name, for instance, simply leave that box blank. Once you've filled in any necessary information, you'll click Complete Citation at the bottom of the page. For mine, I didn't have to look through my source to find anything. If it did have trouble finding an author, I would check the beginning of my article. I see by Jim Axelrod right here. It's got a date right there as well, so if it had trouble finding a date, I could find that. Publisher information is almost always at the bottom. My publisher was, once again, CBS Interactive, and they give the URL automatically as well. Complete citation. There we go. I know sometimes Citation Machine likes to get annoying and switch this out of MLA8. Make sure that yours is set to MLA8. And then we're going to do the same with my next one. Create citation. What's next for me? Frederick Douglass Chronology. Now this one did not have an author, so I want to make sure that I can find this exact same website that I used before. Give me a moment. National Park Service, this is definitely the one. And I'll do the same process. Control-C. Website. Control-V. Search. There it is. Hit Cite. Once again, it's going to look for any information and tell me what it had trouble finding. Now, once again, it wants me to look for an author. I can almost guarantee you this one does not have one. I'm going to check the bottom just in case. Yeah, there's no author on this article, so I can skip that step. It did find everything else. Oh, it did have trouble finding electronically published. So let me see if it's got a publication date. I do see a last updated right here. That's what I'm going to use, April 10th, 2015. It's going to be 10 April 2015. There we go. I was able to add that information, complete, and that should be next on my list. There it is. I have one more I know from my essay. Marjorie Dervin. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I can do this by direct quote. I'll copy my entire direct quote, paste it here, and see if it pulls up the exact article. Looks like it did. Control-C. Website. Control-V. And for the last time for this essay, it's going to be looking for any relevant information. It will tell me if there's anything I need to find myself. Continue. I found the author. Website title looks a little bit weird. It's titled as main, and then it didn't give me a publisher. So let me double check on this website title real quick here. My website title is Association for Talent Development. So let me fix that real quick here. Is it for talent development? My bet is that's going to be the publisher name as well, but let me double check on that. At the bottom. Just ATD is their acronym right there, so I can use that. ATD. It did give me electronically published, so I don't have to worry about that. Complete citation. Cool, so I have all three of my citations. My bet is that you've probably got somewhere between 1 and 4 citations to write if you're choosing to do a Works Cited page. Just depends on how many sources you use to pull information into your essay. Let's take a look at the next step. Let's see, citation list set to MLA8. Once I have all my citations done in Citation Machine, hit copy all, and then paste them onto a page titled Works Cited at the end of my essay document. Let's do that. Copy all is right up here. Cool. Into my essay. Now, my Works Cited should be another page. So I just hit there. Center, Works Cited. And then from there, I should just be able to paste, and it should work. And there it is. I got my Works Cited page at the end of my essay. I'd like to remind you once again, as you work on either finishing your essay today or fixing up your research, that you can choose whether you're going to do InText Citations or a Works Cited page. It really just depends on what's simpler for you or what you want to practice more. But this is one area where we can definitely improve on these Black History essays for a higher grade by the end of this semester. Once again, in our next lesson, we'll focus on proofreading. I'll also open up a spot where you can turn in revised copies of your Black History essays. That's where I can kind of calculate grade changes on your original grade on your Black History essay. Best of luck to you as you write. We'll be back at it again in our next lesson.